So, Amy and Brandon, how did you first two meet?
In high school, we were both homeschooled, and Brandon played soccer, I played volleyball, and we were 17 years old and met, and I convinced him to start dating me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it didn't take much convincing. I, yeah, we traveled, around playing sports, and I think that's when we really recognized, each other. Um, yeah, that was, 2000
10.
2010. Yeah, our story, from the time we met to the time we got married to the time we've had our kids, almost every year is like
Big thing.
a big thing.
It's been busy
I
ever
believe
since.
it.
We've the kids often ask us about that. How does that go? So we met in 2010. I graduated.
2009, you graduated in 10.
Okay.
I graduated in 11, got engaged in 12, married in 13, and then like a baby or a
Every
house
year
every
or
year.
so.
Yeah. Baby in a house
Or a
almost every
dog or
year.
something,
Yeah,
yeah.
or dog. Yeah.
Oh,
Too many
wow.
dogs.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Yeah.
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 So
Been
when
sweet.
when did Lucy come along?
Lucy was born November 14th, 2018.
Okay. And how many children had you had prior?
3. We had at the time Claire had just turned 4. Ellie was about to turn 3 Ellie was about to turn 2, and Wesley was trying to think of all their ages. They're really close in age, so it's easy to mess them up.
Mhm.
Ellie was almost 3 and Wesley was about 18 months.
Okay.
So Lucy was number 4 for us.
Lucy was number 4.
hmm
And was it a healthy pregnancy up until what point in time?
Seemingly so. We found out we were pregnant. We were in the middle of renovating a house. Found out we were expecting. We were super excited. Baby number 4. The kids were excited. And then like every appointment, we heard the heartbeat. We had all the confirmations that the baby's moving. We hear the heartbeat every appointment and stuff like that. And the 20-week ultrasound, I was really relaxed about scheduling it this time because we had so much going on and we had done it, 3 other times. So it's just kind of like, oh, they're just, it's just to say whether it's a boy or girl.
This is baby number 4. I get that.
Just really
Yes, yeah.
thinking of it lightly.
Mhm.
And then we went in for the ultrasound. My mom was with the kids, and it was just taking a long time. And it felt kind of like, I don't remember it taking this long, but then it took so long. Brandon actually had to go and get the kids. And then, so he wasn't there. I finished up the ultrasound. And then should I go into sharing that?
Absolutely.
So the doctor was like, can I see you in my office afterwards? And it was kind of like, oh boy, like this isn't good. And
Mhm.
I didn't even, my mind wasn't even on anything of like, it could be this, it could be this. It was just kind of like so shocked that anything was wrong
Mhm.
because I felt the baby moving and everything seemed fine. It had been like a very typical pregnancy for me up to this point. And I was 24 weeks along at this point.
Okay.
And he sat me down in his office and he started out by saying just like, what we see here is not good. Nothing is right.
Mm.
And it was just kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, I feel the baby moving. How is nothing right? And I saw the baby on the screen. You see the little eyes, little nose and everything. And he just went in to explain, where the organs were and where they should be and, different things, assuming like, oh, these fingers, we're questioning, does she have all 5 fingers? And this foot, should it be facing this way? Her nose, it looks a little different, like all these details. And to me, it felt like he was trying to detach me from the fact that this was my baby. This was my baby girl. And it felt like he was just trying to really just pull me away from the fact that this was my child and wanted me to see everything that was wrong and then offered me an out of just like, And it was a time where he was like, you need to decide what you want to do because you only have a couple weeks because they're about to change laws. And so
Mm.
you wanted to make this decision now if you want to abort this baby because this baby's not going to live. She'll probably die before she's born. Um, and if she's born, it's not going to be a good life. And so, really, just, I mean, never referred, it was always a fetus and just kept referring to all the things that are wrong, really painting this picture of almost like a monster or something. And then offered me that, like, we can go ahead and take care of this. You don't have to continue with this. Um, and it was just so shocking and so heartbreaking and on so many levels.
And at this point, you were by yourself. Brandon had gone to get the other children.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel to hear that news? Did you gather yourself and go home? What did you say to the doctor? Where did that leave you?
When I left, I just said, this is our baby girl, and I'm going to carry her for as long as I can. Like I hope that, because even then, thinking like him saying if she is born, she's going to have severe special needs. Like
Mhm.
that is not a good life. You don't want that for her. And I grew up with a brother with special needs, completely different from what Lucy had. Her diagnosis was holoprosencephaly, so her brain did not divide properly. There wasn't like two sides of the brain. And so that's what played into her organs and everything being mixed up and not in the right where they should be to function properly. Um, so I just walked out of there. Before I did, I said, it would be a blessing to have a child with special needs. And this is our daughter, and we will love her as long as we get to. And then went home, and I was able to maintain composure in there. I think I felt mostly mad at this doctor who, he was the perfect villain doctor. He was big, had an accent, just nothing warm and fuzzy about him. And so I think I felt just more anger and frustration towards him for trying to paint such an ugly picture of my baby and also then convince me to terminate the pregnancy because it would be easier. I wouldn't have
Mhm.
to go through the whole, who knows how long and see if she survives and all of that. Um, but then I know I don't, when I told you how it went, I don't know that I really was
Yeah.
able to say a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you came down from that, you were frustrated, you were shaking, you had tears in your eyes, and I was just like, what happened? Um,
I have a question. Had he been your doctor with the other children?
No, I
Okay.
had never met with him. And, I had gone to the same place for the ultrasounds with the other three. So maybe he was there, but they were healthy children. So I never met with the doctor, just the ultrasound tech that was like, all right, green light, you're good to go. Everything's
Mhm.
good. Um, so yeah.
Was your life ever at risk in that appointment? Did he give you any indication that if you were to carry the baby full term, that your life would be in danger?
No, not really. He really just, underlined that it would be inconvenient,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
that's not something I needed to live with. But as far as, where the placenta was and how she was growing, everything
Your
seemed
health was
very,
okay.
very typical otherwise.
Mhm.
Yes, I
Mhm.
was safe.
So how did you 2 process that together as to what life was gonna look like then after you got that news?
I feel like it was kind of a roller coaster of, going home that day felt so surreal, just holding my other three babies a little closer. And, when they were always putting their hand on my stomach to feel the baby move. And um, we decided all together on her name for Lucy Grace,
It's beautiful.
which was really sweet to let the kids have, we were going to decide her name by ourselves, but then it was sweet that like everyone got to say what they liked. And We decided on Lucy. And yeah, and it felt like there were days that were really hard and also days that were just kind of like, oh, well, it's perfect. We're in the middle of this renovation. If she's going to be in a wheelchair, then we can widen the doorways. We can put in a ramp real quick. Like this is the perfect time to redo our home to fit her special needs. Because I had joined a group on Facebook of people who had children with holoprosencephaly, and many of the babies born do survive, and they need significant care. But there's, still smiling and still a joy to be around. And so it was kind of, we had no idea what to anticipate. Is she gonna die before she's even born? Is she gonna be born and die right away, or is she gonna live with special needs? And will that be, a week or 10 years? We had no idea, and we just really clung to Christ and put our hope in him because, he created her. He had this plan for her life. And that was the only thing we could do, really, was just trust his plan.
That was a valley. You've said that in the past, and when we've talked on this, it was interesting how the Lord kind of allowed us to be in that space. I mean, we were, prior to Lucy, we had sold our house in Brunswick. We had purchased this bigger fixer-upper for our family to grow. It ended up taking a lot more time than we expected. We had brought in a couple of contracting companies to come to help us this time around to speed it up. They went bankrupt. We gave them so much money that we lost. And I'm self-employed. And so if I'm not working, I'm not making money.
And this was just months before
Yeah, this was all months
we found
before.
out about
Yeah.
Lucy.
So
That's a lot.
so we're staying in like this lovely family gave us their house to stay. It's
Rental for a little bit, yeah.
yeah, and we're in their home, the rental, while we're renovating the house is just completely demoed to the studs. I mean, we have a new electric and heating and cooling and everything. It looked like new construction, and we're excited. We're driven. We're like, this is going to be great. Our family's going to grow up in here. This is a gem, an old farmhouse in Westlake, and we had so much fun doing everything. I mean, we still enjoy it, but it was like it felt
The
like
start of
everything hit
2018 was like,
so hard.
it was a hard year.
Company went out of business. We lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of
Not
work.
your company.
No, yeah,
the-
my company
the
kept
plumbing
rocking,
company.
kept going, yeah. But it was like it was all on hold because now we have to, continue to work on our house. And so it's like, okay, we've wrapped our head around. We just are going to have to get this done. And then we're almost through. It's October, right? That's when that ultrasound was. Was that October
August,
or
yeah.
August? Sorry. And then they're like, your baby's, has a lot of complications, and we're just like, whoa, that bookend. A lot of
It changed perspective.
changed
we
perspective
were,
big time.
so focused on the house and just excited, dreaming big, getting all this stuff done. And then I was like losing the money through the company that went bankrupt, and then excited to have another baby. And it's like, all right, well, let's get in the house. Let's get this done. And then, and then to find that out, it just felt like another hard thing, but just so different too.
Mm-hmm.
It made losing all the money seem like such a frivolous thing.
Yeah, the Lord really, I would say, broke us down
Give you perspective.
Yeah.
big time. When Amy and I talk about it, it's like I never felt so backed in a corner. Like, our house was upside down. Our living style was wild. Our no money, bankruptcy on company. We there was no way we could recover any of the money we lost, and so
then
I'm
to
feeling
think
like
about paying for a funeral.
were these bad choices that I made, providing for my family, and it was so out of our hands. It wasn't like we, spent more than we could afford. We bought a really modest house that needed a lot of work, and it was like, this is what we can afford. Let's do it. But it was like to go through all of that and then end that season with like, oh yeah, and your child's not going to make it. It was like, what? And that was just, that was just so hard. But again, um, I'm amazed just how the Lord gives grace to his people when they need it. It's like, you think of all the devastation going on in our world and
Mhm.
the loss that so many people go through. And it's like, what is going on? But the Lord knows, and he gives grace, and there's beauty in the land of the living. It's like, this
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
yeah.
How did you go about telling your family, sharing difficult news?
That was really hard. Because any hard thing, you can take it and you can process it, but when it comes to verbalizing it, it's totally different. So I kept it for a little bit. I feel like we
Mhm.
kept it to ourselves. I mean, for a few days. And then my sister's wedding was in a couple weeks, and my parents were cooking for that. And there was just a lot of excitement and anticipation going on with that. So it felt like a horrible time to be like, by the way, this is what we're going through. So we had planned on not saying anything until after the wedding. But then my mom the one day was like, "Oh, by the way, how did the ultrasound go?" And I just said not good and told her what's going on. So we told my parents, and then after the wedding, shared with more family. But right before the wedding, my I started losing amniotic fluid actually. So we went in. I went to see the midwife, and I was about 27 weeks at this time, and uh, she was like, "Are you ready? Like, are you ready for us to induce labor and have the baby? You can meet her, hold her, and then move on." Um, and I just wasn't ready. I was like, her heart is still beating. She's still growing. We were having ultrasounds more often just to see her growth, see how things were. And the midwife was really sweet and encouraging and just said, "Okay, I'm going to tell you what to watch for with infection and everything since you have this fluid leaking, and we'll have to monitor fluid levels for the baby. So it'll be more ultrasounds." Um, but we went home because it just felt, way too soon
Mhm.
and it also didn't feel natural to induce labor like that. Um, so yeah, and then after the wedding, we ended up telling, I feel like, we didn't have to tell a lot of people because my parents were sharing and your parents. And then eventually I shared on social media with some
Mhm.
friends just that it was hard to talk about, hard to process. And we were walking through it, but we wanted the prayers of our friends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how far along did you make it in your pregnancy?
34 weeks.
It's wonderful.
She was born at 34 weeks. I went in that week just before 34 weeks. And there was just some changes. I had gotten used to, how much amniotic fluid I was leaking every day and what it looked like and
Mhm.
everything like that. And um, the one day there were just some signs that something else was up. And so I went in and they did an ultrasound and found out that her brain was starting to, there's fluid buildup in her
Mhm.
brain. And so she was swelling, and they said, it's going to be safest to have her as soon as possible. And at that point, like natural labor and delivery was out of the question. They were like, it has to be, and she was also breech. It's going to
Okay.
have to be a C-section. So I was there for about a week. They did the steroid shots and everything to try and give her the best chance. And we had met with a palliative care team at the hospital, and they
Mhm.
were very sweet and encouraging of just, we want you to have this time with her. And we had a dear friend, you know, in all this debate of like how far do we want to go after she's born? Do we want to do all the testing, take extensive measures to try and get, if her heart slows down, do we want to make sure it keeps beating and put her on oxygen and all these things? And it was really hard decision on what to do because her life, they didn't expect her life to be long. And I didn't want her little life that she had to be filled with poking and prodding.
Hmm.
And a dear friend said, she was like, just cherish the time you have with her. Just hold her. Don't send her off for all the testing and everything right away. This is in God's hands. And so we did that. And it was really, really precious. She was born by C-section. And so you got to hold her right away.
Mm.
My sister was able to be there and take pictures of a lot of it, which was sweet.
That had to have been very special. And you got to
That was great.
hold her
Yeah.
right that very second.
Yeah. I mean, we anticipated her in all of the complications for quite a while at that point, 10 weeks or so.
Hmm.
And so so it's like, mentally it's like, all right, you're getting ready, and your life is going to be different, and that's okay because God's grace is going to be there. And so she's born, and I hold her, and she's moving, and it's looking like we have a baby girl. We're going to take her home. Amy was on the table and just getting closed up, and
Don't have to share those details.
it was a weird transition point.
there was such a peace, though.
Mm.
It kind of felt like so much anticipating, so much wondering. And that day, it just felt like, God's presence
Mhm.
was felt.
I'm sure because leading up to that, you got the diagnosis at 24 weeks. Then 10 weeks you had to kind of process that and think about that probably all the time, and then she's finally here. You were so brave to carry her that whole time, and then she's finally here. I'm sure there was a lot of anticipation,
Mhm.
but to feel that peace is really extraordinary.
Yeah, I was really thankful.
Just sitting at this table and watching the two of you, there was such a tenderness, and I love what you have to share and say from your heart. I also love to hear a father's perspective, because in this day and age, men seem to be absolutely excluded from the fact that they are fathers of these children and they do have a voice. And so many people are saying you don't have a right in all of this,
Mm.
but the tenderness that you have, the love of your wife and your children, is so evident and so real of the heart of a father as well as a mother. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. The Lord has carried us through so much. I think the biggest thing to be said in all of that is God's grace is sufficient. We prayed every moment we could, and my father-in-law said that the Lord gives grace to his people when they need it, and everybody goes through these different levels of tragedy and devastation and loss and heartache, and when you cling to Christ, he gives you grace. And I think that was the only way we were able to get through this together.
Yeah,
What was it like for you, Amy, to hold Lucy?
it was precious. It felt like having a new baby. I just wanted to keep her by me, and also, like, I don't want anyone to hold her, and also want everyone to experience it. And we got about 5 hours with her before she passed away, and that was really sweet and an answer to prayer because Lucy's 3 big siblings came in and they got to hold her, and
Oh, how special.
that was really sweet. So we have some video and pictures of them holding her, kissing her,
Oh.
and they cherish those. They really do.
Mhm.
It was a really sweet time. I'm just thankful for the way God orchestrated that whole day. I mean, that whole season of life is just, you can only look to it and say that was God's will, and it was done. And I'm thankful. I was so thankful, and I am so thankful that I got to be her mom. It felt like something where it's like I would never wish this upon anyone. But at the same time, I am so glad that I get to go through it
Mm.
and to be her mom and to love her for the time that she was here. And she was so loved. She is so loved.
Mm. I'm just really thankful to how much it affected our children, and
That's just
I mean, it's like a
beautiful.
regular
Yes.
conversation in our house.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
I don't know if a week goes by where somebody doesn't mention Lucy
Yeah.
or, the the late night tears.
Yeah. Anytime they need something to cry about, it's always, I miss Lucy.
Yeah.
The other day, the boys were sitting at breakfast, and Wesley, just kind of out of nowhere, was, feeling really missing Lucy. And so Xander was watching him. So Xander's 3, Wesley's 6. Xander's watching Wesley just cry and eat his oatmeal. Xander starts crying, and I was like, "Why are you crying, Xan?" He goes, "I miss Lucy too." And Wesley's like, "You don't know Lucy." Xander punches Wesley in the shoulder. He's like, "Yes, I do." It's just cute. But like all the time, like if we're
Yeah.
at the store and someone's like, "Oh, wow, 5 kids. You got your hands full." And they're like 6. The kids
Mhm.
always correct them. And it's kind of like, no,
Mhm.
we don't need
Yeah, we're
to
gonna open that now,
go
but you
into
know
the
what?
I
deep
feel bad. I said
It is
5
what it
the other
is.
day to you, and I driving here, I said, "No, it's 6." Why did I say 5? So even me, I felt
Well,
bad. I
I
did
mean,
that.
I do have 5 here.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's just cute when the kids quickly correct me, like, you have 6 kids, Mom.
Oh
Don't
yeah, the kids will go
don't
into it
short
with
yourself.
anybody. Oh, I have 5 kids, and then the whole thing comes out.
It's sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is very sweet, very sweet.
You said something to me about her life. Can you tell? Can you share that with the listeners?
Um, just that her life was so short, and just so small. And doctors encouraged that we just cut it short, because why carry on? Um, but we had peace about carrying on.
Mm.
And her life, although short, you can just see a ripple effect. Even at her service, there were so many people there. There were so many women there who were in tears, also thinking about their own experiences with loss, and just hoping and praying that her little life will make an impact.
Mm.
And I'm so thankful for this opportunity to get to share about her, and I hope and pray that it will continue to change lives.
Mm.